like, and mostly stuff for Mom. But there was a PS just for me. Thank you for the surprise box, and especially for the hug. We wrote letters for one whole year, and once in a while we even got a phone call. It was usually very late at night or early in the morning. Somehow I was always asleep, but Mom would always tell me that Dad said sure loved my hug. Then, one great and wonderful day, Mom took me to the airport, and there was Dad coming home down the escalator. I could hardly wait to run to him because I was so surprised to see him. As soon as he had passed through the last gate, I ran for as fast as my legs could go, and I jumped up into his arms. I wrapped my arms around him and whispered in his ear, "Dad, this is the real hug that I've been waiting to give you." He gently put me down and reached into his jacket pocket, and out he pulled two very dirty and crumpled paper hands, hooked together with some string. "Son, this hug has stayed well with me every place I went. I got a hug from you any time I wanted. But now I don't need them because I have the real thing right here." The end. Now I wanted to ask everybody here if they have something that reminds them of someone they miss. I have my daddy doll. It's got a picture of my dad, and I would hug it every time I missed him. Do any of you guys have something like that?
I have my daddy blanket at home. It has pictures of us together when he would come home.
Anybody else?
Let me ask, so like in that book, the kid's dad had to go away, and the kid was sad about it. We all have when someone we love has to go away for some time, right? So what do you guys do when someone goes away and you're sad that helps make you feel better? Anybody? So you send them pictures of things that are happening around your life that bring you joy, and then I would say that when we share our lives with the person that's away, it helps make them feel a little closer, right? Is there anything else anybody else does? Yes? But so when somebody's away, you can think about what you'll do when they return, and that helps remind us that they're not going to be away forever. They will come back at some point. All right, thank you very much, everybody, for sharing. I invite you can hang out or return back where you were, whichever you prefer. No, good. So I'm beginning to think that this service is my secret plot just to make my family cry. All right, each week we practice generosity as a source of joyful living by splitting our offering plate with UUCP and local organizations that share our values. For November of 2023, our Share the Plate partner is Desert Star Family Planning. The mission of Desert Star Family Planning is to promote the health and well-being of their patients and community by providing just, dignified, and exceptional care. They are a steadfast resource for comprehensive family planning and sexual health care. Our Share the Plate team chose them for November because their mission directly connects to the petitions that we're collecting for the safe and legal abortion. And I'll tell you, this was actually my nomination, so I'm very, very excited. That happens to be the month I'm doing a service. And the reason I nominated it is because my lovely daughter Chandani there has volunteered as Desert Star Family Planning, and I can tell you they do so much more beyond what's on here. It is run by BIPOC women, and they really work hard to support underrepresented members of the community and give them the health care that they wouldn't have otherwise. So this is an incredible organization, and I'm so grateful that we have the opportunity to give back to them. So for all that you give, we are grateful. Ushers, thank you for helping us pass the plate.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Brigida Vieira, the ministerial intern of this fine congregation. And I am here to amplify our joys and lessen our sorrows. In our community, it is a sacred practice that we share the stories of our lives, because all of who we are and all of what we experience matters. And being together and sharing these sacred stories is holy work of bearing witness to all that is our lives. For those of you who are on Zoom, I invite you to type into the chat a joy or sorrow that may be in your heart today, and I will read them out loud. For those of you in person, there are joys and sorrow cards in the back for next week. But before we begin, I'm going to ask us to center ourselves in a moment of presence with this sacred bowl. So find a position that is comfortable for you. And all of the feelings and emotions that are swirling in this room, in person and online, arrive to the fullness of this moment. Some joys this morning in our community. The first one comes from Carolyn Allenby, who's also playing the ukulele this morning. Carolyn writes, "A joy for the creativity and community of last night's auction, for inspiration and affirmation that there are others who overbid me. There is so much enthusiasm and need to help this organization. We are so connected." Indeed, Carolyn. Thank you. Another joy from Gio. Gio writes, "Gio's birthday is in 13 days. And she made the junior varsity basketball team. She accepts Zelle for birthday presents. Just kidding, but maybe not. Happy birthday, and congrats on basketball team." From Victoria Myers, who is also here this morning, Victoria writes, "Monday marks 10 years that Ted and I have been attending UUCP. Victoria writes, "Thank you to all who have welcomed us into this community." And thank you for welcoming us into your lives, Victoria and Ted. We also have a sorrow, one that many of us can also relate to in this time. A sorrow for the continued horrific violence happening in the Middle East. Let us take a moment of silence to honor those tender places in our hearts. And I have one more joy from Pete Creelman, who is also joining us this morning. Pete writes, "I had a date with a young woman from church yesterday, and it was great." Indeed. How connected we are. Let's see, we do have one more coming in. Oh, we've got a couple on here, actually. Melissa Swartz writes, "Gabby Amadei and the Paradise Valley High School Marching Band received 4th place and the general effect caption at the 2A Marching Band Finals last night. Woo, go Gabby." Very exciting. Thank you. And Peyton also shares that Peyton is asking for positive thoughts and prayers as I send off my first wave of college applications. Indeed, certainly a big step. We are sending you so much enthusiasm, Peyton. Join me in a brief moment of prayer. Spirit of life and love, this morning in community we gather. We gather in celebration for birthdays, for awards, for the joy of music, for decades of being in community. We celebrate all of these wonderful things in our lives. We also gather this morning in gratitude. Gratitude for delightful lunches, of new friends. Gratitude for the grace of being in a congregation that can find its way to make music in the most unexpected ways. We also gather this morning in solemn reverence. Reverence for the conflicts in our lives, be them personal, professional, or for other people we don't even know but deeply care about. We gather our hearts in collective grief as we try to make meaning of our history. In the quiet of our hearts, let us take a moment to pour in peace. Not only the absence of striving, not only the absence of conflict, but actually the fullness of peace. The fullness of peace of what may be. A peace that is embodied in how we treat one another, the ways in which we serve our communities, here and abroad. A peace embodied in the world through compassion and care. Let us take a moment to find that peace inside ourselves. And as you feel called, I invite you to share a symbol of peace with yourself, your neighbor, and those online. May we remember that we need one another, and may we be the peace embodied in our world. May it be so. Amen.
Now I'm going to ask you to please join me in a practice of meditation. As at one point I came home and was dealing with some of the scars of my deployments, I was taught this meditation, and it helped me to anchor in the present and let go of the past. So I'd like to share it with you. Relax and settle into this moment. Find for yourself a comfortable but alert posture. Close your eyes if you like. As you breathe in, feel the breath move in and down. Feel your stomach expand as you breathe in and contract as you breathe out. Follow your breath all the way in and all the way out. Now shift your focus from your breath and focus on what you hear. Open yourself to any sounds that may arise. Embrace them without meaning as patterns of pitch, volume, timbre, and duration. Allow the sounds to be present in your mind without trying to categorize or name or label them. Notice the sounds coming and going through your existence like clouds passing through the sky. Now let go of your awareness of sound. Bring your awareness to your thoughts, to whatever is present in your mind. As best you can, treating those thoughts as mental events. Treat them as you did the sounds, focusing on the thoughts themselves and not their meanings. Events arising and passing through the thoughtscape of your mind like clouds passing through the sky. Now, leaving your thoughts, return to the sounds around you. Listen to the sounds without applying meaning. And return your focus to your breathing, following each breath down into your stomach and up and out again. Open your eyes if you close them, and feel yourself in your comfortable, alert posture. Thank you.
Hello. I'm Yosana, John's daughter. Oh. I'm here to give my perspective on having a parent in the military, more specifically in the Army. I thought I would start with a positive side effect of being a military family. Probably the best thing about being a military family is the health insurance. As a chronically ill person with too many doctors, I appreciate it. Now on to the negatives. Most of my childhood, my dad wasn't there. He was deployed twice in my lifetime, and when he wasn't deployed, he was working from around 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. So he left for work before we were awake and got home after we went to bed. The few times we were all home, he was physically and emotionally drained and resting. He was out of town or out of the country for a couple of my birthdays, and I know he tried to make up for it as much as he could, and I'm so grateful for that. Even the moving companies that were provided for us, every time we were stationed somewhere new, sucked. So many of our belongings have been lost or broken in the many moves, and moving is exhausting, especially if you have to do it every 2 years. We got to the point that we stopped unpacking our things because we knew we'd have to pack it back up. The first time my dad was deployed, I completely stopped talking to him because I was so mad that he left us. Obviously now I understand that it's not as simple, but I was really sad. I remember one time we were driving, I don't know where. Me and my sister were arguing, and we had to pull over because of how hard it was for my mom to take care of us alone. We weren't really the easy kids to take care of, and she always made sure we felt loved and cared for, so thank you. When my dad was deployed in Afghanistan, I was terrified that he was going to die in war. I would cry almost every night for like a month, mourning someone I couldn't really remember in person but loved so much. When he came home, it was really weird because there's this person you love and care about but don't really know, and you spent so little time with. Having a parent in the Army is hard for the average neurotypical person, but I'm not your average neurotypical person. Shocker. I'm autistic and change is really hard for me to deal with. So you can probably guess that I didn't really handle the ever-changing world of being an Army brat very well. As an autistic person, I have always struggled with making friends and interacting with my peers. It felt like I was missing the secret code to real connection with people, like I was never taught the instructions that everyone knew, but never talked about. But I would still try because friends are kind of awesome, and I wanted that. At some point when I was a kid, I completely stopped trying to make friends and connect with people because I knew we were going to leave again, and the pain of losing those people wasn't worth it. I kind of stopped interacting with anyone except for my family. As we go through this Veterans Day and future days to come, I would like you guys to honor the veterans and their close ones who have made sacrifices.
So John asked for some songs from World War II that Arson was going to play some jazz numbers, and this was written in 1939. I couldn't find it in any of my books because it's a British song, but I think it'll be familiar to you. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do, till the blue skies drive the dark clouds far away. So will you please say hello to the folks that I know? Tell them I won't be long. They'll be happy to know that as you saw me go, I was singing this song. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Once more time. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do, till the blue skies drive the dark clouds far away. So will you please say hello to the folks that I know? Tell them
So good job, Yosana, getting your revenge on me and making me cry. When Reverend Christine started planning services for the fall, I asked her if I could do a service this weekend about being a veteran. As Veteran Day happens to overlap this year with the end of what has been an ever-present part of my life for the last 21 years, and as Yosana has made clear, has been an ever-present part of all our lives. I just felt a need to share with you what it's meant for me. So I ask you to bear with me a little bit longer as you join me on this cathartic exercise. So what does being a veteran mean to me? The most concise answer I can give is it's complicated. Many of you may not know that I not only served in the military, but I grew up as a military brat as well. My dad served in the Air Force, so I have the experience of being the child of someone in the military, as well as the experience of being in the military. As a young adult, as I would think back on growing up, I had a lot of negative feelings. As a kid that was painfully shy and more than a little bit awkward, moving every 2, 3, 4 years was really tough. Making new friends was hard for me, and then adjusting to a new school with new teachers and different curriculum just added to the turmoil of my life. Also prevalent in my memories was resentment for how much more of my father, the Air Force, got than I did. So often my dad would be gone for training or on an assignment away from home. And even when my dad was home, he so often came home from work so exhausted that he didn't have much energy left to give to us. As a child, it was painful to see my dad be so fun and involved in everything his troops were doing, and then be zombie-like for us. I remember wondering why he cared about his troops so much more than he did us. So if you ask me how I feel about being a veteran, especially after hearing my daughter speak, and I did not read her comments beforehand because I wanted to experience the moment with you, a big part of what I feel is guilt. Guilt for putting my children through the constant moving and new schools and being torn away from friends that they had made. Guilt for always having to be on at work and often not having anything left for Gita and the girls when I came home. Guilt for the pain I caused every time I left for training or a deployment. But there were many great things about growing up in the military as a military brat as well. Living in England and traveling around Europe as a kid had a profound effect on me. That's when I first fell in love with history, because I was living in the history. I could experience it firsthand. And 2 degrees later, history still brings so much joy to me. And although I had a hard time making friends, I am still friends with people I haven't seen in person for 30 years because we have shared experiences that so few others have had. As I have served, I've continued to form lifelong friendships with others all over the country. And I've seen Gita and the girls do the same. It's pretty cool that I know that if I wanted to go, say, to Kansas City next weekend, that we'd have friends there that would open their home to us and greet us as if we had never left. So I feel guilty, but I also feel grateful. It's complicated. These are just some of the thoughts and feelings that are floating around inside of me on Veterans Day. This causes a lot of reflection on my military service. It's very hard for me to think about my deployment to Afghanistan, where I met and worked with some of the most courageous Afghans that were fighting to make Afghanistan the country they wanted for their children. To think about all they sacrificed only to have us leave and the Taliban institute an archaic, barbaric system that is the literal antithesis of what they fought for, makes this day very difficult for me. So I feel guilty, I feel grateful, I'm reflective. It's complicated. And for me in particular, being a liberal-minded member of the military, it is hard for me to ever truly feel comfortable around others, no matter the environment. Although there are way more liberals in the military than many people think, we are still the minority, and the conservative majority is way more vocal. They're not afraid to tell you. So it's hard to show all of who I am to my military brethren. As far as being open about my military service with all of you, honestly, I have chosen to be open about it in spite of how I've been treated, not because of how I've been treated. I've been asked on more than one occasion how I can reconcile being a UU and being in the military. As if those two things are so diametrically opposed as to rule out being one if you are the other. And don't get me wrong, I understand the extensive history of pacifism in Unitarian Universalism. Remember, I love history. But I can also tell you about the history of accepting the necessity of war in order to stop an evil when other means are unsuccessful. If you ever want to history deep dive, read about Unitarian President William Howard Taft's thoughts on war. So how do I reconcile being a UU and being in the military? Honestly, I know there are bad people out there that need to be stopped. Ideally by peaceful means, but if nonviolence isn't an option, I would rather someone like me be leading those that fight than someone filled with hatred or anger. So how do I feel about Veterans Day? I feel guilty, yet grateful. I feel isolated, yet belonging. It's complicated. Thank you. Thank you. So we have coffee and refreshments in the Johnson room. Adult and children's activities will begin at noon. I very much encourage you, if you have the opportunity, participate in the deep dive session, because it really is how we make change for ourselves and for others. So please stay afterwards and connect with each other. So as the service comes to a close, I leave you with the bugle calls, retreat, and to the colors. As Reveille has signaled the start of my workday for the last 21 years, retreat into the colors. Well, it sometimes signaled the end. It sometimes signaled that I had another 3 or 4 or 5 hours of work, as Yasana pointed out. But so please join me with retreat into the colors as it signals the end of this service and my service. Go in peace, go in love.